good to see everybody that's here. So welcome, everyone. We're glad that you're here. And before I introduce the agents, I want to tell you all that in all of the emails that we've sent out, I've given you their websites, because if you want information about how to submit, if you're seeking representation, I'm going to ask you to go to their individual websites, take a look at what they want and do it their way. If they want snail mail or if they want electronic, do it their way. But I don't want everybody asking the same question of how do I submit? That's how you submit. You go to the websites, okay? And so without further ado, first and foremost, we're going in alphabetical order. So I'd like to introduce Lilly Bankston. And Lilly, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, everybody. My name is Lilly Bankston, owner of Bankston Talent Agency and also an agent. I've been running the agency for about 4 years now. We have an office in Dallas, an office in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and we just recently opened up in LA. And I don't know what more to say about me. I just work all the time. Former actor turned agent, and 4 years just hustling. Done?
That's fantastic, and congratulations on all of that. And you are a SAG-AFTRA franchisee, right?
Oh, yes.
I thought you should mention that. Okay.
Yeah, thanks for catching that, Tony.
No problem. That's what casting directors are for. Okay, and next we have the beautiful Patricia Boyson. Patricia, take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'm Patricia Boyson. I own the Boyson Agency. We are primarily located in Houston. We have offices in Austin. We're a SAG franchise. We opened up January. You can hear my storm behind me. I don't know if y'all can hear that. Sorry. We opened up January of 2018, and just busy working like Lilly, staying busy. It's been a great year. I came from being actually a momager. I was never an actress. I was a news reporter and decided that I wanted to take this on. It's been a journey. But yeah, I guess that's it. We're just Texas based, although we submit US wide.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And thank both of you for being here tonight. And last but not least, we have the adorable Tory Christopher.
Well, thank you, adorable Donnie. Sorry.
Geez, I've been called lots of things, but adorable wasn't one of them.
So I guess a little bit about me. I started as an actor, spent 17 years as an actor in Hollywood, and you know, bit part. Just a starving artist, struggling actor. Bit parts, did extra work, I did stand-in work, I did stunt work. I was fortunate enough to get on a show for 4.5 years and another show for 3 seasons. Very, very small characters, tiny little characters, but I was employed. And as an actor, that's a really, really good thing, you know. So I think along the way, I realized, you know, you get into your all of your actor friends that you're surrounded with, and I realized that there were some very, very talented people that they couldn't get an agent, and if they got an agent, they couldn't get an audition. And so I wanted to kind of put myself in that position. I wanted to be that conduit, you know, to where I could get my friends and other actors work, but I also knew that I couldn't, you know, with the rules and regulations with SAG franchises and so forth. When I went through all of that process, you know, I knew at that point I would have to stop being an actor. You cannot do both. So I put it off for a while, and I interned in a talent agency. I interned in a casting office. You know, I tell you what, I think I learned more about being an agent when I was at the casting office, you know, from that other perspective. And I think that's important for everybody to learn other perspectives. I used to love to get our actors to come in and sit in on casting sessions, because you learn so much, just being on the other side, you know, of that desk. then see after that, okay, so I did the interning, and then I was working at the Comedy Store, and ended up starting to book stand-up comics, then for a number of different venues. And so that kind of felt like it was the right transition. When I was booking stand-up comics, I felt it was the right transition then to open the talent agency. So I hung up my acting hat and my acting faces and opened the talent agency in 1996, I think it was, in Hollywood. And that's when my real learning started. That's when I realized that 17 years of an actor, I knew relatively nothing about the casting process other than interning. And so it's been a remarkable journey. It's got a lot of ups and downs, but I love to get up every day and do it again. So here we are.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And I want to quickly acknowledge Carrie McCormick. Hello, Carrie, and Judy Lee. And if there are any other people on here that I know and I didn't greet, I'm sorry. So we will open up for questions now. So if you have a question, Gary, you want to mention how to do that again?
Yes. First of all, everybody, if you're not speaking, please mute your mic, because as soon as you speak, you take over the screen and we're videoing it. So, and when you finish speaking, mute your mic back again. So also, if you want to raise your hand, go to reactions and raise your hand. That'll mean we see you. And when you finish your comment, get your answer, lower your hand. Pretty simple. Folks, start raising your hand. It looks like we got Carrie. Were you going to ask a question, Henry? Is that correct? So anybody raise their hand? I can't see everybody, but
I don't see any hands raised yet, but I saw Henry Kana. Hi, Henry.
Hi.
Okay, so nobody has any questions. Good night. Thank you very much for joining
Looks like
us.
there's one. Looks like Gustavo. I guess I'm the only one that could see it.
Oh, hello. Hi. Hello. I'm Gustavo Peña. I didn't really have a question. I just wanted to say thanks for the invite, and I'm really happy to be here. So thank you for that.
Do you have a question?
I have a question yet. No, not off the top of my head, but just let me think a little bit, if you will.
Okay, thank you. And Dee has a question. Gary?
it looks like
Yeah.
Oliver. Do you have a-
Oliver.
D is muted. Yes, hi. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, I just wanted to say thank you so much for spending time out of your day to do this for us. It was really nice to put a face to all these names. Yeah, I had a question. So I've been with an agency for about 2 years now. The better part of that year just being quarantined and not doing anything really. But I've been booking a lot of gigs and they're all commercial pretty much. Is it against, I don't know, the culture to get multiple agents? Say if I were to book, get an agency that focuses on shows and movies versus commercial, and then kind of split the load, only do commercial in one agency and shows and movies in the other. Would that be conflicting? Would that be a problem?
I think I'm unmuted, right?
Oh, am I muted?
It depends. It depends on your relationship with the agency. Some agencies will only represent you across the board, film, television, and commercial, and a lot of that is simply because commercial work pays for your road to film and television. But there are agents that just deal with theatrical, which is film and TV, and agents that just deal with commercial. If you have that kind of a situation, then yes, you could have a commercial agent and you could have a theatrical agent. You could also have a separate modeling agent for as far as that's concerned. For instance, when I opened originally opened my agency in Hollywood, I opened as theatrical only. I was film and television only, because in all honesty, I knew nothing about the commercial world. I'd never worked on a commercial. Didn't know anybody who did commercials. All of my contacts were in situation comedy, in half-hour comedy. So I knew nothing about the commercial world until one day, as a fluke, we ended up getting one of our actors booked on a commercial, and all of a sudden this whole new world opened to me that I was unaware of. And all of a sudden, you know, the commercial casting directors were getting in touch with me because of this one incredible actor. and you know, and so we ended up opening a commercial department, and we represented mostly across the board, as I do here in Texas, which across the board meaning in all areas of film, television, and commercial.
Lilly, how do you feel about multiple agents?
So yeah, piggybacking off of what Tory said, especially if you're staying within the Texas market, most of the time, from what I've seen, a lot of agents in Texas want to cover you entirely. I do have multiple actors that have multiple rep out of state. So, you know, I'll cover them in Texas and New Mexico. They'll have rep in LA, they'll have rep in New York, they'll have rep in Atlanta. From what I've seen is, if you're based in Texas, which I guess you are, I mean, I'm assuming that you are based in Texas.
Yeah.
So in Texas, we don't really have a surplus of theatrical work. So understand where you're at in this market. Like, Texas is a commercial market. So most of your auditions will be commercials. And I am starting to see an uptick of theatrical in Texas, which is wonderful. In New Mexico, for instance, that's all theatrical. And the big thing with that is a lot of the jobs, they want to hire people that are either based in New Mexico or can work as a local hire. Local hire meaning you are willing to pay for your own travel, you're willing to pay for your own lodging. And I have run into a lot of actors that will say, yeah, I could work as a local hire. Then they're either put on hold, they're pinned, or they're booked, and they're like, are they going to cover my lodging? And clearly they did not know what the definition of local hire is. So if you are, so I guess going back to your question about trying to find a separate theatrical agent and a separate commercial agent in Texas, I find that is going to be really hard, because you know, we're all primarily commercials, and then with the a lot of the commercial casting directors are also the ones that do the theatrical work in Texas. So all of the agents know the casting directors, so they're going to want to cover you for the theatrical work. Now, if you're looking at trying to find a theatrical agent outside of Texas to have more of that opportunity, one, at the bare minimum, from my experience, you should be able to be willing to work as a local hire. But two, you also have to kind of make sure you have a really good package because if you're not actually living in a certain state, you know, whether it's Atlanta or New Mexico, then, you know, you kind of have to show us, you know, is your package worth us submitting you being an out-of-state actor? So that's something to really think about if you're taking rep outside of state.
And Patricia, do you have any comments about multiple agents in the state of Texas?
In the state, I can tell you our agency, we're exclusive. So we're your only agent in Texas. I think talking to your agency and seeing if they have the network in the breakdowns to be able to submit you theatrically, because not all agencies have the same
let me figure this out.
connections. And can y'all hear me? Okay, I didn't know if my storm knocked me off. Sorry, they don't all have the same, and a lot of it comes down to with our actors that want to know, are we being submitted theatrically? A lot of it, as Lilly says, comes down to your package. If you're not at a level to be submitted for film and television, that's something we address. A lot of actors don't have their resume up or a clip, and until the package is complete and I feel comfortable presenting and pitching for theatrical work, because there's a professional level when you go into film and television. And that's something that we have to preach over and over. So you got to make sure everything's in line so your agent is comfortable submitting you. And casting will give you an opportunity. They're not going to give you an opportunity if you more than likely don't have a clip, if it's just a headshot with no resume and a clip. And so that's a problem we have in our agency, is getting everybody to the level to where we can submit them for film and television. So that's my input on that.
Okay,
And also, if I might, like what Lilly was saying about commercials in Texas being, very the heavy load. Even when I had the agency in Los Angeles, the same thing, simply because there are a lot more commercials than there are film and television shows and so forth. We used to laugh back in LA, we used to laugh all the time about actors would always say, every actor we knew would say, God, I love my commercial agent. They get me out all the time. I love my commercial agent. My theatrical agent doesn't do anything. And your theatrical agent might be working really, really, really hard to try to get you in the door. It's just a much different animal and a much more difficult process.
Tory, I need to piggyback on that. Exactly what Tory said. It's a different process. It's a lot harder. There are some markets where we actually have to directly pitch you to casting via email. And if the competition is a lot higher, you need to make sure your package is up there. So yeah, exactly what Tory said. Oh, I love my commercial agent. My theatrical agent isn't working hard. It's theatrical's tougher. It's harder. It's a harder sell. It's a harder sell as an agent.
Okay,
Wow, thank you so much.
And Will, did you have a question?
Yes, sir. Hey, non mwen se William Moleon. Mble di tout moun mte ble money on bagay. But basically, I just want to ask, how do you guys feel about actors with multiple languages? Does that help as in acting as well? Does it help?
Oh, absolutely. Any multiple languages, any kind of skill sets, the more that you have, whether it's language or whether it's music, dance, whatever additional skills you have, yes, everyone helps. Everyone is an added asset.
Okay, thank you, Tory. Gustavo? Gustavo, I think you're muted.
Yeah. Yes. Hi, Denise. Hi, everyone. Yeah. So I have a question. Every time I get an audition, maybe I'm overthinking it, but I'm trying to follow the directions to a T, and they, some of the directions are like, okay, one shoot is you, let's just say off the top of my head, shaving, and the next it's a cut to you cleaning up your shaving cream, and then so forth and so forth. And in my head, I'm like, okay, am I supposed to do just one continuous shoot, or am I supposed to be an editor now, or am I like makeup artist? Like, where do we draw the line as far as like not like just doing acting and don't take too much of editing and act and makeup into the audition? Do you get me? Like how do I know like to ease up on the editing and to like just focus more on the acting if the directions tell me to like, okay, I need you shaving one scene and then cut to you cleaning up your shaving and then cut to you driving? It's like, should I just do one continuous shot, or should I become an editor at that point?
Well, first off, I'd like to say, Gustavo, you did a fantastic job on that audition you're talking about. It was really, really good. And I think you did give 3 different clips, which was right on target. You hit it right on target. And
okay.
I think it depends on the audition. You have to, as a creative person, you have to look at each audition individually and see what you think you could bring to that, as a creative individual. And if that means an edit, then it means an edit. If it means a straight through, it means a straight through. But you just have to trust yourself. Trust yourself.
Ladies, anything to add?
I feel that ever since we got into self-tapes, which I actually really love because it gives us as agents the chance to actually see what our actors are doing instead of just going into the room and not knowing what the heck they're doing in there. But yeah, you know, as an actor doing commercial, you know, doing any kind of audition, you know, you're the one that has to place the camera. You have to figure out your eyesight instead of a casting director telling you what to do. But my suggestion as well, I don't know, I really encourage actors, especially if it doesn't have to be within the same agency, but if you're able to network with other actors and you guys could kind of help each other to see, you know, what their tapes look like in a way. I know that I have a couple of actors who kind of share and get ideas from each other, but I think overall, when it comes to self-taping, I find that a lot of people do overthink the sides a lot. So I don't know, maybe consider going into class to figure out proper ways to analyze scripts, because it is hard. I think, you know, a lot of actors got a lot thrown on them when things started transitioning to self-tapes, because I have personally seen some of those commercial audition instructions and they're messy. They're really messy.
Right.
So yeah, I think going back to what Tory says, trust what you do, kind of trust what you do as a creative, but just be sure you analyze the script depending on what audition you depending on what commercial you audition for. Maybe you could look at previous commercials to see how they do it. If casting shares a storyboard, definitely look at that storyboard so you can understand the vibe of the commercial. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
Patricia,
And I will add when my actors, they call when they're frustrated and they're confused, and we'll sit there and go over it. And I agree with Lily. Sometimes I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, let me sit here and really think about this. I think the main thing is breathe, do the best you can do, you know, and don't ever stress it. I think a lot of my actors are over stressing it, trying to bring something that if they were in person in front of the casting director, some of these instructions would work, but not being in front of them and us doing it at home, we're doing the best we can. And so just, you know, do the best you can, let it go, because the casting directors will message us back and be like, hey, can you get them to retape and slow it down? Or if there's something you miss and they want to see more, they will reach out to me. And I know that's probably the same with Lily and Tory too. And so don't sweat it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I think your cat just came into the room. Okay, and our next question from Gabriel.
So is everything 100% online now, or do we still get in-person auditions every once in a while?
Gabriel, first of all, I have to acknowledge Gabriel here. This just doesn't happen. He booked a feature film role on his very first audition.
Oh,
congratulations. That just doesn't happen. So, well, right now, I would say, I don't know, 99% of everything is virtual at this moment. Who knows when that will change? I think a lot of the casting offices are liking it. I know a lot of the producers are liking it. But there's still something very special about being able to be in person. So it could go back.
Ladies, any comments, or you just agree?
I think self-tapes will be here to stay for a long time. I have been seeing some in-person auditions once in a while, but I think this industry, time is always an important thing. Everyone's always scrambling, whether it's production, casting, agents, and just self-tapes help with time so much. I had asked one of the casting associates with Nancy Nayer, she had said, or I had asked, so out of curiosity, how many more people are you able to watch with self-tapes? And they said about 5 times as much. And knowing that they're able to see more people, and it's really good for the actors too, because you may not have even gotten an audition if it weren't for self-tapes. So I guess in my, like what Tory said with the percentage, 99.9%, callbacks, commercially are still virtual, but theatrically, I see the callback still being virtual sometimes, but occasionally they'll have like chemistry reads where they want people there because there's a lag with the virtual, whatever virtual system they're using, whether it's Zoom or some other app.
I know there's a push by a lot of agents to go back to in-person. I kind of like the virtual just because here in Houston, our actors driving and driving back it got expensive, especially if there's multiple auditions or callbacks in a week. I know we recently had an audition that was in person, and I had a slew of actors just canceling once they saw it was in person. They're not comfortable going in person yet. And so I think it's going to be here for a while. I think we might start seeing more come back. I know a lot of people are eager to get back out there and do the in-person auditions again.
As a casting director, I'm going to add a comment here. Number one, I hate taped auditions because I feel like if I'm in the room, I have a great deal of control in helping the actor attain whatever it is that they're supposed to be doing. I just did a job, I had 90 self-taped auditions, and I would say that 3 or 4 of them were actually good. Everybody else, they're looking all over the place. They don't know where to stand. They don't know their eye line. They don't understand the material. And I think that casting directors are going to be passé if they continue with this virtual audition. It saves the production company a great deal of money because they don't have to hire me. They can get everybody to do all the work at home and submit it. And I don't think it's fair to the talent, because I don't think it gives the talent a chance to, if the casting director sees that they're going in the wrong direction, I can correct it on the spot, but I can't do that with a tape. So I'm not a big fan of it. I understand it during COVID and everything, but I'm hoping and praying to God real auditions come back, because I think we casting directors can do a better job with the talent than they can do with themselves. So that's my 2 cents worth. Thank you. Will? Will?
Yes. So I appreciate all the information you just gave. That's awesome, because I actually like the old school way before COVID had hit to go and audition in front of the casting directors and everything. But the self-tape does not, I don't get a second chance with the self-tape, like you said. I really appreciate hearing that information. But also, the question I had to ask was, I've been doing a lot more with film and theatrical, like shows, feature film, short films and stuff like that. I'm not really, I've done few commercials. So with my skill set, I feel that with Central Texas is more of commercial. Is that even the commercial casting directors, do they do also for the theatrical and film for as an agent?
There are certainly casting directors who do both commercial, film, television. As a matter of fact, and this isn't just in Texas, but this is something I learned in Los Angeles. Sometimes that's a back door for the actor. If there's a casting director who does some major feature films or television shows, but they have their list, they have their studio list. They can only see certain people, or they're only going to bring in people that they know their work, because we're talking about a high level production here. So if you can get those actors in to see that casting director when they're doing a commercial, that's a back door, and that's a way in.
Okay, and Leah?
Hey everybody, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Leia. Thank you 3 for being here, taking time out of your day to answer our questions and give us so much info. So I know Donnie's told us, how we can submit. I was just wondering where you 3 stand right now as far as looking to add people to your roster? Are you kind of at a point where you are looking on to take on new talent, or kind of at a pause, or just on a rolling basis?
Well, for me personally, this is actually a really good time. It's one of the best times because I took on maybe 2 people in the last couple of years, during COVID. So our roster has definitely gone down big time. There's people that just left the business during the pandemic and so forth. It's probably I don't know if there's ever a great time or ever not a great time. It just depends on what's happening at the moment. But this has been, for me, a good time. And by the way, real quickly, Denise, I think we have some people that have their hands up for a while that maybe are on a different panel or a different.
I don't know. Next, I've got Ms. Knight and Joan Deschamps.
Okay, yeah, because I saw Joan, Ms. Knight, and Ms. Pumpkin there for a while. So
Okay.
I didn't know if they were on a
Lilly,
different page or something.
Lilly or Patricia, do you have any? Are you looking?
Yeah. So I personally am not looking for anybody at this moment. It's all about timing, exactly what Tory said. Right now, I have my other agent on maternity leave, so I am taking care of her roster. And it's just I can't take on any people. Like, I've had a lot of people submit. I've had managers reach out to me to ask if I wanted to take a look, and some of them were really good, but it's like, if I take you on, I'm probably gonna die. It's just too much. So being down an agent has, she comes back in October, and I may start looking at people again, but I do have 2 other agents who one's out on maternity leave, but I do have another one that is, I believe he is actively looking for people. So personally, for me, I'm at pause, but my other agents may not be.
Patricia?
Our agency is on a rolling basis. We are always signing, always looking for great talent. We don't mind taking on new talent. If we see potential and we see you're training and you're doing everything that you need to do to progress, we take on new talent, but we're always signing. We have 3 agents, and we work around the clock 24/7. And so submit.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I'm sure I'm going to mispronounce this. Anitika? Ms. Knight?
Hey, hi. Yes, it's okay. All the time. It's Anitika. No worries.
Well, I was close.
Yeah, seriously, all the time. It's no big deal. Thank you guys for being here. I'll start with that. I just wanted to get this question out really quickly. What are your opinions on reality TV? I know in the past that reality TV was like frowned upon. Don't do it. As an aspiring actress, like, I've been doing commercials for a while. I have been getting contacted more often from producers that are interested in like reality dating shows, things like that. And I'm just curious, I know like the times are changing, especially since the pandemic. Is that something that you would still say like, no, don't do it if your goals are to be recurring roles, co-star on feature films, don't do it? Or would you say if it's not going to be defamation, consider it? What are your thoughts?
That one is still a hard one for me, because I remember when reality TV was frowned upon for people that wanted to pursue acting. But I will say there's an actor that I rep that was on Big Brother at one point, and he's booking, so it didn't hurt him. And I think there was this one, it wasn't with me, it was with another agency that I was talking with, that like they were on a reality TV show, and that actually kind of helped propel them. However, like I said, every situation is different, so it's really hard to gauge on that. But what I could tell you is that for one of my actors who is in a reality TV show, he's booking with me, so nothing seems to be an issue for him.
Okay, thank you very much. And Joan?
Hi, y'all. Thank you. Patricia, where are you? I just signed with y'all a couple of days ago, and I'm very grateful.
Hi, Joan.
Hi.
Welcome.
So I have a couple of questions. One of them is, how much do you like your talent to communicate with y'all? I had sent a couple, Michelle is my point right now, and I sent a couple of emails to her, just like with some questions. And I tend to be a little bit long in my emails, something I'm really trying to like just get to the point already. And then poor Michelle is like responding to my emails at like 10:30 at night, and I'm feeling really bad about that.
Don't feel bad. Don't feel bad, because we do work around the clock. That's one thing. Our agency is remote. We do not have brick and mortars. And when I opened my agency, I was very scared about that at first, because I had come from a larger agency that was brick and mortar. But I love it because we work pretty much around the clock, because we are working from home offices. We we'll break for dinner and then go back and answer emails as soon as they come in. And we try to work very close with our talent. We don't mind the emails. We don't mind the long ones, because you're learning the business, you're learning us, especially when you come on. And we want to get you on the right track, because we're a team. That's what we are. And so there's no issues with long emails or even the time. We're going to answer them as soon as we can. I know Michelle was out for 2 days, and so she might have been a little bit longer in answering them. So she was taking care of her mom. So, okay.
No, she was like right on it. And do you like for us to tell you before we self-submit, hey, I'm going to self-submit for this? Is that okay? Yeah.
I prefer y'all to reach out before you self-submit, just because we are continuously submitting. And I don't want you submitting and then us submitting you as well. And so if it's a project that's coming through the agency and that we're working on, I prefer you to let us submit you. But we'll be honest, if it's not coming through the agency and we don't see it, I will tell you to go ahead and self-submit.
Okay, cool. And then I'm wondering, have you noticed with COVID and all, how is that affecting casting and shoots and all? Because I was cast in something and it's like they keep moving it back. And then the second part of that question, and this is for all y'all, is there any kind of movement out there to, like, I know in Texas we can't enforce masking at all, but it sure would be great if people could, I don't know, be a little bit more responsible about it, because it's not just them, it affects the whole production.
Yeah, currently there are some very strict regulations from the Screen Actors Guild if you're working on a union shoot.
Well, that's good, but the non-union stuff, not so much, I'm thinking. But anyway.
Yeah, it's in a case-by-case basis for each project. I've seen one project say you don't need to be vaccinated. There's another project that says you must be. Others that say people that are booked must wear masks. Like it's different for each project. So yeah, there isn't really a blanket statement for that.
I see right now it's being actually more lenient than it has been. A lot of the strict mandatory vaccination productions that I were seeing are now going to having to test beforehand and not a mandatory vaccination. And so I think with our waves that come through, we see things getting pushed at times or things being shut back down for a while. But I think it's something that we're dealing with long term, and people are trying to learn how to live with it. And I think that's why it's getting relaxed.
Okay, fair enough.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Abby. Abby?
Hi, hello. Thank you, Denise. I really appreciate everyone that's talking, just like absorbing, taking in all of the great information so far. And I had a question that I wrote down just so that I wouldn't forget it. What are helpful steps to better package yourself, to place yourself in a better position for the market? Lilly, I know you mentioned there are some differences marketing to commercials versus marketing to film and television. So I'm wondering, I've been taking a class just to keep up the reps with Tristan Spoon and EA. She's represented with you as well, or they, I'm sorry. And they talked about specifically having like a vibe or going in knowing what part of you you're going to bring to the audition. And I'm just wondering, what are some ways that we can better package ourselves that are helpful for you all?
Well, I think the big thing is that there are a lot of actors out there that are newer that, you know, they automatically want to go do film and TV thinking it's easier. But there's a lot involved in that. And it's like, how do I trust that you will do a good job on set? When it comes to packaging, I really love seeing actors that are taking action for themselves. There's a lot of actors out there that rely too much on their agent. Technically, us as agents, we're salespeople, and you as the actor, you are the CEO of your own company. And we're just a piece of that. But I feel that there are a lot of actors that are just like, so what do you think of this? And what do you think of that? And can you coach me on this? And that's not really our place, technically. I know that there are some agents that will coach. For me, I don't see that as my place. I am not supposed to be, okay, I am a creative person, but I'm not supposed to, I don't think it's my place to tell you what to do creatively. That's your job as an actor. And, for me, I love seeing actors that, you know, they'll self-submit themselves to indies to get better. And, you know, that kind of example actually shows me that they actually do care about the art. They do care about the craft of acting, because, if you guys are just starting, you know, your journey as an actor, oh my gosh, it gets a lot harder and it gets a lot crazier. So my number one thing is when I'm able to see, okay, who did you train with? Okay, oh, I see it's ongoing classes, cool. What are you doing now? Oh, okay, so you're actually working on this short film, you're actually working on this, and you're working on this web series, and you're working on that. And that shows me that when you're actually doing multiple things and you're doing it yourself, you actually do have a passion for the craft. And in my opinion, the people who have the passion for the craft, they have the endurance to follow through with their journey of an actor. So those are the things I look at. Now, typically when if I look at a submission, you know, I'll look at everything. I'll look at your resume, I'll look at all your footage. I'll go to your IMDb Pro. If you don't have an IMDb Pro, it's just like, why not? You know, I'll look at, you know, your Instagram. I'll look at everything because I need to figure out if you're somebody, I don't want to sound mean, but I want to see if you're somebody worth my time, because you know, our time as agents are very, very precious. So that is why I'm very strict when it comes to like who I'm willing to meet with, because there are a couple of people that I've offered meetings and I got stood up and they're like, oh, I forgot. Can you can we reschedule? Absolutely not. No. And that's another thing. Yeah, and that's another thing to add. Some people, and there are people that I've had to let go, and they would be like, oh no, that was a mistake, I'm so sorry. And it's just like, sometimes you won't realize, like, if you give up an opportunity, sometimes you won't get a second chance. And that happened to several people that I've met with before. So you just have to, whenever you're submitting to an agent, you know, definitely have your A game. That's all I'm going to say. There may be some agents that will give you the second chance. I will tell you that I will not, if it's not worth my time. I burnt out twice last year. That's why I'm telling you this.
Oh man. Well, thank you. I appreciate your reply. Thanks.
I just to once again piggyback on Lilly there. Yeah, you can't pass opportunities. I know that wasn't the question, Abby, but you can't pass opportunities. I think that who was it? Michael Sherlock, Edgar Small. I think it was Edgar Small's book. Towards the end of the book, he says something. This is a book for actors, you know, and toward the end of the book, he says something that it's harsh, but it's true. He said the first time that you turn down an audition because of something else going on in your life, you are no longer an actor. You are only somebody who used to think they wanted to be an actor. It's harsh, but it's, you know, I spent my first 17 years, you know, professionally in the business in Hollywood in a very, very difficult market. And I'll tell you, that is a one and done. If you say no to one thing, you're not getting another opportunity. You're out, gone, bye. Done. So
I always think in terms of you don't get a second chance to make a good first impression.
Amen. Amen, Donise. And actually, one of my actors shared this quote, and I have to share it because I think it's wonderful. And I'll share it with my IG stories at some point. But the quote is, every day that I procrastinate, every day that I sit stagnant in fear, every day that I fail to better myself, someone else out there with the same goals and dreams as me is doing the exact opposite.
Right.
That's how it is in acting, y'all. Like,
Yep.
if you aren't going to do it, there's a lot of people that want to do this.
Well,
So
there
know
are
that,
500 right behind you who can do it.
yeah,
So you can't pass these things up because you've got a manicure. You know, I mean, really. Okay, Will, another question?
Yes, the question I was having, like, I haven't been represented. I've been acting about 11 years, and I do a lot of short films and indie films and feature films and extras in major film like American Underdog, big name movies and stuff like that. But I would love to be represented, and I would love to know how do I go about to get. I know Lilly said she's not taking anybody, but I was wondering if any of you other agent or casting directors are willing to take in somebody.
Well, I'm going to interject at the beginning of the meeting, and perhaps you weren't here. What I said is anybody who's currently looking for representation, visit the websites of our agents and check out how they want you to submit and go from there. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let's see. Do we have another question?
Actually, Donise, we have Erica, D, and it looks like Abby, or at least Erica.
Okay, Erica, go for it. Thanks, Gary.
Hi, how are you? Thank you for doing this. There's so much juice in this. So I am new to this whole thing. I've been taking classes since January and self-booking since April, and I'm about ready to start submitting to agents. So 2 questions. One is when I do submit and I follow all the instructions on the agent's page, if I don't hear back within a certain period of time, what is the etiquette around resubmitting? Because one of my teachers said, well, email them every week. I'm not sure if that's the right thing. So that's question number 1. And then question number 2, when I do get an audition from an agent, what are the top questions I should ask them when interviewing?
Oh, I love this one.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, definitely resubmit if you don't hear back from an agent, but I wouldn't do it weekly.
Okay.
I know that there's a great story. I can't remember. It was a casting director who told me one time. He said there was this actor who used to he'd send a picture postcard once a week. It always arrived on the same day every week. And it wasn't anybody he was interested in bringing in for whatever reason, or they didn't have a role for the guy. But every week. And he said it was annoying, but when the guy stopped sending them, he was like, what happened to the guy? Is he okay? Did he get in a car accident? What happened? So I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't do it weekly. But there are times definitely when, if I'm getting submissions from actors and I'm too busy doing my submissions and my pitches and that there might be somebody that would be very interesting. I just don't have the time right now to look at it. So yes, if you don't hear from somebody, definitely resubmit. Don't just go, I didn't hear from them. They don't want me yeah, definitely resubmit. I wouldn't do it, like I said, weekly.
Not weekly. Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you.
What was the other question? Because there was something.
When I do get a call back from an agent and they want to interview me, what are the top questions I should ask them?
The questions you should ask them?
Yeah.
Okay. There was a book, and I don't know who wrote the book, but they should be shot. There was a book telling actors what questions you should ask an agent, and they were horrible. They were just horrible questions that you should never ask. You should be, like I said, the person should be put to death who wrote that book. But in any event, be honest. Just be from the heart. Whatever is your, if somebody comes in with a, a list of questions and all that I know that they got from a book or they got from somebody, I'm like, do you really honestly know what the answer means? And that was one of the biggest problems I had with this book, because all these questions, they sound like great questions, but what does the answer mean? And the answer is going to be different for each agency. There are some agents that work one way, there are some agents that work another way. So, each answer, come from the heart. Ask your own questions from the heart. Don't worry about, a list of questions you get, because they're probably going to be crap questions.
Patricia, do you have anything to add?
Let me unmute myself. Okay. I do. I get questions when we have new actors come in, and sometimes I'm just like, oh, like when they ask me, how many of actors like me do you have on the roster? And in my opinion, from the years I've been doing it, it doesn't matter, because when you get into that audition room or you submit that audition, everybody's going to look like you, because that's what they're looking for. You're that type they're casting, and it's going to come down to your training. It comes down to, as we call it, the package. And so the questions should just be working as a team. The questions, how really to see how you feel with that person. If you can work with that person, to me, that's what it comes down to, more than a specific set of questions, is if you like who you're working with, because this person is going to be submitting you and pitching you and talking to you often. And so it's somebody you want that you actually like.
That makes a lot of sense. And that was where my intuition was, that yes, my first thing is that I want to have a really good relationship with the person on the other end of the line. And so thank you for that, for confirming that.
And, I would like to add, because what Patricia said there, and that is a very common question. How many people like me are in this agency? How many people like me are going out on this audition call? I have one answer for that. There's no one like you. No one. You are your own individual, and there is no one like you.
Tory, sorry, I'm like cutting in. 100% yes. 100% yes. I think there are too many. I think there's a lot of people out there that try to be like somebody else, or they'll see who's booking a lot and they'll try to be like them. 100% on what Tory says, there's nobody like you. Everybody is unique. Everyone is unique. And throughout your journey as an actor, I hope that everyone will be able to embrace who they are, because that's what makes them special. I'm out.
Agreed. Thank you. Thank you.
Very, very nice. I'm getting a lot of messages that a lot of our people from Houston have been knocked out because of the storm. So I'm just asking everybody in Houston to send it to Austin. And hi, Donald.
Hello, how you doing today? I hope everybody's doing fine. I kind of chimed in late, but I was just reading through the bios of the agencies, and something caught my eye. What is the significance of a SAG-AFTRA talent agency?
Lilly, Patricia?
There are certain rules and regulations that we have to follow in. Yeah, it's just there are just certain rules. If you open up a business and you decide that you want to be a SAG franchise, we agree that these are the rules that the franchise tells us that we have to follow, and we just abide by them. It's rules.
I heard at one time. I heard at one time there was only one agency in the state of Texas that had some sort of Hollywood connection.
Highway connection?
No.
Hollywood connection.
Oh.
And it was out of Houston.
Yeah, well, that was probably their own propaganda, I would
Propaganda. Was that you, Patricia?
I was just going to say, with the SAG franchise, it's just an oversee of the agency to make the actors feel better. The actors, by having Big Brother on the agencies, and they're watching everything we do, looking over our contracts, making sure everything's for the actor is the way to say it. More for the actor, and that we're not doing anything shady or out of the realms of what's fair in the entertainment industry is what I'm trying to say. That is not coming out right.
Yeah, and there are resources as well, you know, for the actors, but also for the agents. If we ever need to refer back to, if there was a particular SAG project where maybe they didn't pay an actor enough, or production is refusing to pay an actor because they said, well, COVID tests are supposed to be volunteer based. I mean, I will go to SAG. I'd be like, hey, who's in charge of this production? Cool, thank you. I will go to them and say, hey, this production is not paying whatever they need for our actor. Could you help us out? And they'll chime in. So yeah, it's a union.
Okay, and Tootie.
Yes, we have a question from someone by the name of Gerald Broden, and he's asking Tory and the Boyson Agency, do you guys have offices or good connections with the projects or casting directors in New Mexico?
Hey guys, how you doing?
I think, you know, I believe most of us have, you know, at least connections, but it also depends on who can work local hire in New Mexico. And as I think Lilly mentioned this earlier, a lot of times talent will want to be submitted for a local hire job without understanding what that entails and what your responsibility is as a local hire.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was, Tory, I used to review out in LA, as a matter of fact, way back in the day. When I was in LA, I worked, you know, like 2 films and 2 TV shows, local hire, so I have a full understanding of what that means. And I've done it from being in Texas, I've done it in Alabama, New Orleans, and, you know, Atlanta, hopefully pretty soon. So I understand completely what that means.
I think one of the things, and probably, you know, this would be good information for everybody, because I had this conversation with a casting office that does a lot of local hire work. As a matter of fact, they kind of were on the forefront of local hire. Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that we talked about is that you have to remember, let's say, this is for everybody's information. Let's say you book a television show that, you know, shoots for 2 weeks. Okay, it's an hour show, it shoots for 2 weeks, but you're only scheduled for 1 day. Okay, yeah. As a local hire, when do you have to be there? You have to be there all 2
the whole
weeks.
time. And no,
you don't know. This is for other people, Joe. This is just,
I got you.
You know, for general information, because you don't know when that schedule is going to change. You don't know when they have to flip a day. You don't know when wardrobe has to go, oh, you need to come down here. We need to do a wardrobe fitting, or you don't know what's going to change. And so if you can't just commit to 1 day, you have to commit to the whole 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's on your dime. And that's why people should understand that for local hire.
Yeah, it's the actor's transportation and lodging responsibility. Yeah, no, lodging. Oh, you know, I'll go play a lumberjack.
Outside of the local hire aspect, the agents, you know, we pitch. You've got to have the package. The agents all have the connections, the network, the lines to get through and to pitch. Yeah. And so it doesn't matter if there's an office in New Mexico. I have a home in California. It doesn't matter. We're working from here, and it's our reach, our network, and the people we talk to, and the ones that work, and the talent we submit, and if they're workable and for what the project is and what the specs are they're looking for. Yeah. But pretty much any agent in Texas that has theatrical division, they've got the network and ties out there.
And good. Patricia, I want to thank you so very, very much for appearing with us tonight. I know that you've got cats, dogs, grandchildren, and all sorts of things going on. So you can release them from all of their individual rooms. And please know how much we appreciate your comments and being here.
Thank you for having me. Sorry to go so soon, but y'all have a good night.
Great to see you, Patricia.
It's good seeing you, Tory and Lilly. It's been a long time.
I know, right?
Yeah, we'll have to catch up soon. Thank you, and y'all have a good night. Y'all are in good hands without me. So thank you for having me.
Good night.
Night.
Okay, bye.
And Tory and Lilly are going to stay with us for about another 10 minutes. So we've only got a few more minutes, but let's start. Gabriel, did you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. When you pitch someone, is it a specific profile, like from Actors Access or casting networks, or is it a personalized kind of profile?
Every situation. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
Lily.
you go. You talked first. No, you go.
I was just going to say every situation is different. It depends on the project. Sometimes it may be, that we're sending in your profile, which would be your cast, say your Actors Access or Casting Networks profile, along with notes and so forth. That could be a pitch. It could be an email. It could be a pitch. Back in my day, when when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, back when I had the agency in LA, everything was done by phone. We didn't have email. We did, but it wasn't part of the process. We didn't have these Actors Access profiles and all that stuff. So, I literally would spend 10 to 12 hours a day on the phone. And when that was over with, I never wanted to answer another phone call again in my life. So if I have to get on the phone and pitch, I will, if it's a necessity. But ordinarily, I would do it by email, which also I have a paper trail there. I know exactly, what we pitched, how we pitched, and so forth. Or through the services that we use, where we send your profile in and put little notes in there. And I'll turn this over to Lily now.
Oh, wait, one. Sorry.
Get out.
I know it's my husband. No, it's all good. But yeah, for pitching, there are even some casting offices that will say, we do not want pitches. We will just see submissions. And we're all like, okay, we won't pitch for that. But exactly what Tory said, sometimes I'll use the Actors Access link. Sometimes I'll add photos on the actual email. Sometimes I'll add maybe 1 line, 2 lines why I think my actor is a good fit for this role. And this just goes back to anybody wanting theatrical representation. Keep in mind that sometimes when we submit you on Actors Access, that isn't enough because of the volume of submissions they get from all the hundreds of different agents. So that's why you kind of need strong footage and a strong package, because whenever I pitch anybody, I'm not going to pitch anybody that I don't think is 100% right for the role. Pitching via email takes time. Once again, time for an agent is very precious. So if I pitch somebody, I feel that they are a great contender for the role, and it could be very simple, just using the Actors Access link along with a few photos on the email, and then me explaining why I think they're good.
And that's really important from a casting director's point of view. I will have agents call me and say, why did you overlook Joe Doe? And I will say, well, I don't think he's got what it takes. And they will say, let me talk to you. And I'll end up seeing them because I trust the agent to know their talent. And if you burn me and you make me bring somebody in that's not right, you don't get that opportunity again. We were talking earlier about first impressions and second impressions, and your agent is extraordinarily important when it comes to pitching you. And they don't always have a lot of time, but boy, it matters.
And just piggybacking on that real quick, Denise, you see how much is on the line here? It's a domino effect. Right. If we keep pitching people that aren't right, but actors keep saying, can you pitch me? Can you pitch me? Can you pitch me? If we keep pitching casting directors people that aren't right for the role, then we're burning our bridge with them.
Absolutely.
I think I know Lily does this, and I know I do this, but yes, you have to be right on target with what you're pitching. You have to read the character description. You have to read whatever script material you have. You have to know your talent. And the best compliments that I ever got as an agent from casting directors, from producers, directors, is you really know what you're doing with this talent. You really pitch the right people. You really read what's going on, don't you? It's like, yes, of course. Because I guess there are agents that just throw throw everything in the kitchen sink. And but this is what I said before about learning when I came from 17 years as an actor and knew nothing about the casting process. Because one of the things I learned early on when I opened my agency in Los Angeles was that it was building those relationships and building the relationships where the casting office could trust what you're doing. And that is so important. And so, yeah, we get that all the time. Pitch me for this, pitch me for that, pitch me for this. But if you're not right, it's It's got to be right.
Okay, thank you. And Abby?
We have two.
Hey,
Abby.
I lowered my hand versus unmuted. Thank you
Oh,
guys so much for your time. Quick question. I know about with clips, with like video clips, I'm so used to demo reels, right? And the new thing now is like video clips. And do you submit specific clips for certain? Could you help me better understand that process?
So I'm just going to tell you on my end that there's going to be 1,000 different opinions on this, and they're all going to be industry professionals, because so many people have different. For me, I'm somebody that watches Instagram. I follow so many different casting directors, and they all contradict each other. So you just got to find your way. Like as an agent, I just got to find my way on what I feel best showcases the actor, and just go with it. But for me, I'm somebody that I do like sharing the full reel. I know that some people say, they're not able to see the full reel. If they like you enough, they'll see the full reel. But I do also understand that time is really important for, everyone's working fast. So I'll submit the main reel, and then I'll submit clips that I think are very applicable to the role that I'm submitting them for.
okay,
Now,
thank you.
what Lily said.
And Abby Jenkins?
Hi, so my question is, I've been getting more into hosting lately, and so I'm kind of curious, Lily, maybe I'd love to pick your brain on this. What would be the best way to market myself with my social media? Should I focus more on what I can do in a commercial or dramatic sense, or should I kind of present myself more of like a personality? If that makes sense.
It's interesting. I don't know much. Oh, okay, that was me. That was weird. Okay. Yeah, when it comes to social media and using that, I know that that's the new thing, but I don't really fully know how to market people's social media. So if it's you trying to capture people's attention that, hey, you're a host, and maybe people that are looking for a host would reach out to you directly via social media, I feel is a different. I'm not really skilled when it comes to that because it's so new to me. But if you're getting into hosting, and I know that you just booked a hosting gig for a video game thing, start creating a hosting reel, and I could use that for me at least. But yeah, when it comes to actually changing out your full social media to kind of showcase what you could do, that is something that I am not an expert in.
Okay, thank you very much. And our last question of the night is going to be from Forrest.
Yeah. Hey, Tory, can you tell us that story about how important the headshot is? You were a couple of years ago. You had told us.
Yeah, that's the Liam story. So I saw this young man in a show. This is back in LA a long time ago. I saw this young man in a showcase who was freaking brilliant, just absolutely brilliant. He was, I think, 25 years old at the time. Looked like he was 14, which is gold, So, and he was just so good. He was absolutely brilliant as an actor. Perfect comedic timing. And so I brought him in. We talked, and I signed him. And he had a terrible picture. It was just awful. It looked like a Sears portrait studio. He had, first of all, in real life, he wore glasses and he had really kinky hair, and kind of goofy looking. And in this particular shot, he had his hair straightened, no glasses on, doing the Sears portrait kind of thing. And because I knew how good he was, I overlooked the fact that picture just sucked. It was terrible. So I started pitching him, and this is back when we were doing everything by the phone and hard copy, pictures and resumes being sent by messenger across town to the casting offices, and then pick up the phone and follow up the phone call. So I was pitching him, and I was pitching him to casting offices that were super, super friends of ours. They're casting offices that always, gave us the time of day and always saw our actors. And nobody would see this guy. Nobody. I couldn't get him seen, I think it's like I couldn't get him an extra on a music video. I mean, nobody would see him. And I kept pitching and pitching, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. You know, the kid's brilliant. You know, I know I'm doing the right pitches. I know I'm pitching him for the right roles. And then one day I was talking to, and this is months down the road, I was talking to, I can't remember who it was, but it's a casting director that we had a really good relationship. And I was doing the pitch, and the casting director says to me, this is on the phone. He says to me, he goes, Tory, I can tell you love this kid, but I'm sorry, I don't see it. I just don't see it. And I thought, well, how can he say he doesn't see it when he hasn't even, and then I went, oh, the picture. He is looking at the world's worst headshot, and that's why he doesn't see it. And it all came together, and I was like, you know, I overlooked that very simple thing because I knew how good he was. And I just overlooked the fact that the picture was terrible. And so I called him up right away and I said, Liam, we've got to get new pictures. And I set him up with this photographer that we like to use, who was actually a sports photographer, but he did headshots like you wouldn't believe because he knew how to catch people in action. And so he would have people doing actions while he was shooting, and he would get these brilliant shots. And so we got one, and it just so happened that Liam in the picture, it had a lot of things that were by old traditional headshots would be, you know, a no-no, because he had his hands up in the picture. He had his hands framing his face. His hair was all wild. He had his glasses on. There's a lot of no-nos in that for you know, traditional headshot rules and regulations, but it was a great shot, and it was Liam. It was him, you know. So I sent those new pictures out, and all of a sudden I'm getting phone calls from these casting offices going, Tory, hey, who's your new guy? You know, the one with all the personality, the one with his hands up in the shot. And I said, that's Liam. That's the one I've been pitching for the last 6 or 8 months or whatever. And all of a sudden, they started seeing him. He started working. You know, he ended up doing a TV pilot. He ended up as a series regular on a show. And it was all because I was missing that one element, because you've got your picture, your resume, and your agent, your pitch. And I missed that one. And once I realized what I missed, everything came together.
Wow.
Is that the story you were talking about, Forrest?
God, I hope so.
Yes, that was the story.
Thank you, Forrest.
You're welcome.
Lily, thank you
Headshots.
so very
Yeah.
much for attending.
I was about to piggyback on headshots. It's fine.
Go ahead.
Headshots are important. They're important. If I see that there isn't a professional headshot done, it's deleted.
Forget
it's the first thing that we see. It's the first thing casting sees. You need that. You need it.
I tell all the actors who take my class, the first and foremost important thing in your entire career is your headshot. Because if it's not good, you're never going to see me. It's that simple. So you're absolutely right, Tory. And you gave, you know, it took a while for you to realize that it was the stupid headshot, but boy, I'm glad you did, because he went on and had a good career. And I just want to say thank you so very much to both of you for your time and your thoughtfulness and your intelligence and sharing so much information with us. I also would like to say good night to Gary. I don't see him on my screen anymore. He's somewhere.
Still here.
There you are, you cute thing, you. And thank you so much, Tootie, for hosting the meeting as always. We truly appreciate everybody in attendance. And Tootie, what did you say? How many people did we have tonight?
We had a total of 65.
Wow.
Now, isn't it better not having to drive and park and all that stuff? So
amen.
And I'd like to say thank you to all of the actors to attend. Thank you for making your career important. Thank you for making your career important enough to look at Donice's emails and to come to these to events like this. Thank you for making your career important.
Thank you so much, Tori. We really appreciate it. And Gary, thank you for all that you do for us with your monthly announcements, and with all hell breaking loose in your other career. It's wonderful that you still have time for us. And Tootie, again, a million thanks to you. And unless anybody else has anything to say, I'm just going to say good night and thank you to everybody. Thank you, actors, for attending. We really appreciate that.